Um, I'm gonna try to go through the basics a bit, but not too much because there are many videos that go through it much more in detail, and I'm only gonna touch so much of Blender, and going through all the interface, I don't think it's really worth it. But I'm gonna still try to go through all the main steps and why I do them a certain way and what you should be doing too. I think. Well, it's my first time actually teaching something like this, so if I go too fast or there's something you don't get, write it. Please write it in the chat. I will try to address it as soon as I can. I prepared some notes, which are like do this, then do that, so I'm sure I don't like get tripped. And I'm gonna share them in the Discord. So if you get lost or forget something, you can go watch it. Let me turn on these guys. So now when I do stuff like middle click, it shows up. If I press keys, it shows up. We're not gonna be on the viewport a lot, but I'm still gonna go real quick on how you navigate it. So middle click to rotate. You use the scroll wheel to zoom around. And shift middle click to pan. I mean, you can also change it if you already know some 3D tools of choice, like Maya, which uses a lot of alt click. You can change them to match that. I got used to this nowadays, so I'll just use this. But it's not really important that you match it because you don't actually need to pan around to do what I want to do. It's just handy if you want to do some of the more complex stuff. So, first thing, we want to go from working in 3D to working in 2D. So there's a bunch of housework we have to do because this is not how Blender is actually kind of meant to be used. Before we touch anything, we need to fix some of the Blender defaults, which are not as good as we want them to be. So, for example, Blender comes with a lot of like add-ons, which are really cool, but they're all disabled by default, which is confusing. So this is the option window. You get it from going to Edit, Preferences, and you can leave everything as it is. Why is it still outside? Okay. So there's the add-on section, and there's a couple add-ons you might want to enable because they're really handy. And if you've seen like other Blender tutorials, they tell you literally all the same thing because it's really that handy. So you want Node Wrangler. So you just like search for like Wrangler on this box. It will pop up. It's probably gonna be disabled by default, and you just click on it, and that's it. And the other one is image as planes, or import image as planes. And again, it's gonna be disabled. You just click it. You don't need to restart or do anything. Just click it. It's fine. So, Stinger transitions are quite the beast. How they work? They use a video which like covers all the screen for like one frame and then uncovers the screen. It's like something covers the entire screen. OBS behind that changes the scene and then it uncovers it. To do this, you need a video with transparency, which is not something common to see. How many videos have you seen that have a transparency layer? Like we know it for images. For videos, that's not really common. So we need to enable it. And to do that, we go to this section. Tell me if it's too small. I can't really judge from here. But we get to the camera icon that says Render Properties. We scroll down to Film, and we set it to Transparent. So that saying to Blender, everything that is like should be black, it's like there is nothing there. Actually make it transparent. Also, we want on color management to say that we don't want the view transform to be filmic, we want it to be standard. This is because since Blender is meant to be used for like video productions, they actually make the colors a bit prettier. But when you're working with like actual graphics or logos, you don't want anything to mess with your colors because they have to be a certain way. Something else we wanna change. If we go on the printer icon, which is output properties, we want to change the frame rate from the very cinematic 24 frames per second to something that we might be nicer, might be 30 or might be 60 frames per second. I like 60. I like the smoothness. And we also want to change how our render result is rendered. By default, if you try to render an animation in Blender, it will make like a tons of images and you have to stitch them together. But we can choose some specific option to have it output a video. Now that normally doesn't include transparency options. There's not many formats in it, like support transparency. However, there's one format called QuickTime, and QuickTime animation does support alpha. So there's the option for AGB-A, A being for alpha channel. And everything else can be left like this. It's fine. So now we're actually rendering with transparency. If we go to render an image, you can see like this is all. I don't see if you can see it, but it's all like the grid, like that gray with other gray. It's not just black. Now we want to flatten our words and go to flatland where things are flat. To do that, we're gonna delete our nice cube because it has too many dimensions for us. We want to so how we do that? We can select the cube by clicking it. We can right click, delete, or the shortcut is to just select it, then click, like press the key X. It will ask us if we really want to kill the poor cube, and we definitely do want to kill the poor cube. Next, we will need to have our camera look at flatland. So we click the camera, we go on the purple icon, orange icon, which is object properties, and we want to reset the position. We want to put everything to 0. But then our camera is like at the floor, so we want to actually move it up. And we can either like drag the Z value upwards, or you can just set it to some arbitrary value, like 3 or 4. Or let's maybe make it like 6. Or you can move it around by pressing G. Or you can use this nice gizmo here, which is very more familiar to other softwares. So now that our camera is looking at nothing, if I close this thing, so there's this camera option, like this cute button. If we click it, we can see the word the camera views, and we can still like move around it. And if we do like pan around and do stuff, it will snap out of it. But for as long as we are looking through the camera, we can at least zoom and pan around. So let's make the camera look at something 2D. So what we can do is create like a plane. And the way we can do that is we can click here, add, mesh, plane. The quicker way to do it is to like press Shift A, which is it's the same menu, but it's like where we are with the mouse. So we don't have to like move the mouse over there. So we have now a nice plane. And if we render the plane by clicking render image, we can see that it is indeed a plane. So let's make it like a snazzy transition now. So as I said, all we need to do is start from something blank, cover it completely with like our plane, and then take it away. So we can make something like one of those expanding boxes, if you ever seen them. And then there's like an inside box that expands. So for example, we can use the rotation tool to like tilt it a bit. I can press S. The S key makes me resize stuff. I can also like constrain it to like an axis. So right now it's making it really big in every direction. I can press like Y, and it's only making it like this direction. And if I press Y again, it's making it big, but it's like the rotated Y, depending on how much, like, what's the relative height. So what I want right now to do is to like make it very thin as possible. So I'm gonna do X, double X. It's gonna make it like this. I'm gonna push it to 0, just so that it's completely invisible. So right now our plane is there. It's just very, very, very thin. So what we want to do is animate it. So we want to make it like this now, and then as it goes, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger until it consumes everything. So we have a really nice timeline down here where we can animate things and move it around. So what we do is we set keyframes. So we say, right now you are here, and like at point 100, you are this. How do we do that? So at point 0, we go to the scale value. We do right click, insert keyframe, or again, there's a shortcut for that, which is high. And now this value is yellow, which means it's actually being recorded. I can click here to make it auto-record any thing I change of it. Otherwise, I have to manually press I every time I change it. So I can go to like 100. I can make it super big. And now there are these two orange yellowish spades, I guess. And they are keyframes. And now if I move my timeline, it's animated. By default, it will do this cute animation. You can change it so it like goes out really fast, goes out really slow. I like it like this. It is a bit slow. I can like pick this one and I can move it so it happens sooner. Now it's faster. Still not as fast as I wanted. Now it's really fast. I can do something like this. So we have done step 1. We have covered the screen. We need to uncover the screen. Well, there is actually also another issue. This should be like a flat color, but it's not. It's a very light gradient because there's still like lighting happening. So we need to make it flat because we're in Flatland. We don't deal with shades and stuff. So we have to add a material. So there's a material properties button here. It's like the Amiga ball thingy. It's a sphere with a checkerboard pattern on it. We can click new, and it will default to a principal BSDF material, which is like, it's one of those fancy material where like you can specify how rough it is, how metallic it is, and we don't care about that stuff because we're not, again, doing fancy 3D. So we're just gonna set it to emission. It seems nothing has changed. If we go to the shaded view, we can see that now everything is super white. So we have made a fancy thing. Now we have to unmake it. Well, what we can do is actually, like, if we want to do like another box that does the same animation, we can just clone it. We press Shift D, or there is a right click duplicate. And when you do it, it will start moving it around. But we don't actually want to move it. We want it to be the same place it was the original copy. So we're just gonna right click and it's gonna drop it whatever it was. So we have two planes that are having the exact same animation. So what we want to do is we want to take the second plane, select those two keyframes, and move them a bit after, like this. And as you can see, the second plane comes after the first one. So how do we make the second plane unmake the first plane? We cannot paint it black, even though that would be something that, yeah, it would be intuitive to do that. For the second plane, we want another material, a different one. So we go into the material tab, we click to new material, and now this is a different material, and you can see it because we can change the color. And when we animate it, it does this fancy effect. What we want to do, instead of like giving it a special color, is we want to change the type again from emission to holdout. What does holdout mean? It means, hey Blender, when you see something in front that has this kind of material, I want you to forget everything. Render transparency. Render as if there is nothing. So our plane is really, really unmaking the other plane. It's not just covering it. And if we were to render this part, you would notice that that is kind of what happens. There is a checkerboard pattern here. And so this is how you would make a very, very simple stinger transition. You can change things about it. For example, personally, I don't like the kind of smoothing. So the way it works by default, it starts slow, it reaches peak toward the middle, and then it starts slowing down. But I want it to be fast, like super fast from the get-go. So what can I do? I can select the keyframe. I can go into right-click, interpolation mode. Well, actually, easing type mode is what I actually want. And I can say ease out. This way, it will start super slow, like it will start at the peak of the speed, and will slow down. And I can do it with the other plane as well. And now it's like much more impactful. Though it is also a bit choppier. So I guess it comes down to taste and what you can find out by playing around. So something else we might want to do right now is, as you can see, our timeline goes from 0 to 250. But we're only using up to like 60. And this will be a very long and boring video because nothing is happening for a lot of it. So we can go back to the output properties where the printer icon is, and we can change the N to be 60. And now you can see it's only up to here. Also, there's something else you can do. If you do figure out, like if you do like a very complex animation and you notice that, oh no, it's going too fast or it's going too slow. Maybe you forgot the frame rate to 24, you change it to 60. But now everything is faster again. There is this time remapping option where you can say, hey, I know this I animated from like 0 to 60, but I actually want it to be like 0 to 100. And now, as you can see, my animation goes up to 100, even though the keyframes are still in the original place. It's a bit counterintuitive. It's a very like last-ditch effort. I do it all the time because I forget the frame rate to 24 and I have to fix it later. It's just like, I want this at 2x speed or like half speed. And you don't want to lose the detail. Also, we can render this and we can like use it directly. I can actually give it a shot right now. It's gonna be real quick because we're not doing anything like complex. Yep, and it's done. So Videoland client has a lot of trouble seeing these files for some reason. So I have my backup option, which sees them just fine, but we don't really get to see the alpha. So something else we can do is go to OBS. How do you set a stinger transition on OBS? I might as well go over this as well. Oh no, I have double chat now. This is a big mistake. So, global transition properties. You should like on a normal layout, it's probably like close to these controls, I think, like on the left. If you don't have it, you have to click here. Never enough chat. Yeah, pull the chat. So you go to your transition thingy, which is somewhere I can't really show because I don't have the default layout anymore. You go to add stinger, and it will show up as this transition. You can click the gear tool, click properties, and now you have this menu where you choose where to get your stinger file. You just browse to it. What's the point in the video where everything is covered so OBS can change the scene? And you can also click this and it will test how the thing works. So I can go here, select my new nice file, and I have to update the transition point. I think it was like 26, a bit earlier than that, 20 maybe. So this is the, well, I call it the easy way. It's also kind of a bit boring though because you're really limited to basic shapes. I haven't taught you any way of doing like textures and stuff. And you can do that. You have to use materials in particular ways, which I will show you now. But first, we did enable the image as planes add-on. So if you don't want to use like these, maybe what you actually want to do is show your logo because you have a pretty logo. So what you can do, first of all, leave it for a while, maybe like a big while, and I can import my logo here. So I go Shift A to add something. I go to image as planes. Now I can go to my logo folder and import my logo. And look, here it is. However, it's always gonna be there. So I want to make it so that it pops in. So just like I did for the planes, I can just animate it. So I can make it completely small. Insert a keyframe here. Make it like super big here. Oh, actually, I can make it even nicer. I can make it super big. That sounds much more fun. And now I did say that this planes was unmaking the other frame, but the way the order is right now, this thing is going over the frame that is unmaking the plane. Yeah. I just made it a bit higher. And that should look like this. So if it wasn't clear, we are working in the realm of like 2 dimensions, but it's not really 2 dimension. We're still working with 3 dimensions very much. So we still have like another dimension that we can play with. And we can order stuff to make it appear in front of behind. We're also still technically in perspective, which is bad, but it doesn't really affect us for now. Like if you want to do things like really properly, you select the camera, you go to the camera option in green, and you select it from perspective to orthographics. That way, even if something is really, really close, it's not bigger. However, this does kind of mess with us. I think I can still fix it. I can just make it like this. Wait. Okay. There we go. I fixed it. Now, we're gonna try to do things a completely different way. So, be gone are the planes for now. We can just kill them all. Are we gonna do plane again? Because we're really plain people. We're gonna make it so that it does cover all the viewport, and we're gonna give it a super new material. And we're also gonna change where we do stuff. We're gonna go into the shading tab, because we are starting to do things like procedurally. So once again, this is like a different, it's a different viewport, but it's very much the same. It just has different presets. We don't really need anything here. We can click the camera button to go back to the camera view. And since we don't really need this, but I do really like having the space, we can take out these panels. So the way we do it, we click on this border, like right click, and we can do join areas. Now that we're doing join areas, Blender is gonna go like, okay, which one do you wanna join into what? So as you see, there's a big arrow. And it's kind of counterintuitive, but you click the area that you wanna kill, which is, oh well. It was a kind of weird at first, but I got used to it. So we click the file browser, and it's gone. Same way here, we right click, join, click. And if you do miss them, you can bring them back. You can click horizontal or vertical split, and you can like create new stuff. And if you're wondering, how do you bring a panel here if there is no border? Well, the thing is, it doesn't really matter where you click to do a split. Like I can click this split right here, and I can do like vertical split, but I can also just do it here. Very intuitive. Back to the matter at hand. So as again, we have a principal BSDF material by default. This is a different view, but it's kind of the same as the material view we had earlier, but this is like the fancy version. So what we want to do is we don't want a BSDF material, so we're gonna delete the node. This is it's a different way of doing materials. here it's mostly just preset stuff that's ready for us. But here we get to do all sorts of fancy things because we get to write our own logic for how the box should look, or the plane rather. So same keys as the viewport. So we press X to delete, or we can right click delete. We don't have anything now, so our poor plane has become black of void. But we can bring it back. We can give it a color. So we can go to add, input RGB, or just like with the viewport, we can do Shift A. And unlike the viewport, we actually have a search box. And we can write things here. And we can search. So the RGB node, you just give it a color. But nothing's happening yet because we haven't said what that color does. We want to say that color is the surface. And now that we have done that, we can give it all the colors. Color is cool, but can we do like nicer than colors? Well, we can do many things. We can kill it and make a noise texture. Just random noise. And now it's like a cloudy thing because it's just picking values at random. You can change some of the parameters to make it more or less noisy. We can, we can work with this. It's really nice. If you don't like black and white because it's too grim, you can do colors too. Look, it's a mess. Welcome to Blender. So what's on the... Okay, next thing. Let's say we want a Voronoi texture. So Voronoi is like very organized into cells. See, it's all very... I don't know, it's kind of like a web, but not really a web. And again, there is a color version where you actually like have a... I forget the name of it. It's like the things on glass. It's very neat though. So, some shortcuts that you should learn right away because it's really nice. We did enable Node Wrangler. We did it for a reason, as you might imagine. And the reason is doing this gets a bit annoying. So you can just, well, first of all, let me see if I can re-enable. Okay, I did re-enable the screencast keys. It's gonna be here, which is a bit weird, but it very much works. What I can do is Control Shift click, and now every time I click something while holding it, it will auto see that, like auto set it as the material output. A really nice trick that I like to use to make fancy graphics is right now we are seeing like black and then white and like a lot of gray in between. But you can make like, well, first of all, you can actually turn the randomness down and make it like very organized. You can make it like you can choose between the different shapes, and the randomness just makes them random. So what I like to do is I like to create a matte node. And what the matte node does is it applies some formula to it. The formula I want to apply is greater than, which means if the value, meaning like the value of gray, is larger than a certain like a certain match, give me 1. Otherwise, give me like absolute black or absolute white. And what I can make is I can make, look, I made like a checkerboard pattern. Because the way the Voronoi is, this is fully white, this is fully black, and at a certain point, it goes over a threshold that I choose. And depending on the threshold, it has a fancy effect. And like something I can do is every single value you see here, like this, and this, and this, you can animate all of them. But you might say, animate it where? There is no timeline here. Well, we can make one. We wait, not swap. We do a horizontal split somewhere. I like doing here. Then see this icon? Every Windows has this small icon. This is the type of panel. We want to switch it to timeline. And now we do have a timeline. We can animate like the threshold. We're going to put it like 1. And then we're going to do insert keyframe. We're going to jump to like 30. And we're going to go 0. And now we have animated like this kind of weird transition. If you've been focused a lot right now, you might notice that this will not work for a stinger because this is black and white and we needed transparency. This is not transparent. We do render this, it will be black. So we need a way to make it transparent. We use the compositing flow. We go to compositing and we click use nodes up here. So now we can do like post-processing and everything. But really what we care about is saying, this is not an image, this is alpha. So what we're saying is, this black and white, it's not what the image should be. This black and white is just what the transparency of the compositing is. And what is the compositing then? Well, it can be a color. And in this case, it would render to this. Well, it doesn't show alpha because for some reason the compositing is kind of bugged. But if I were to save the image, and to show you that this is actually like some sort of bug or something I don't get, I did actually prepare an image viewer. And now, as you can see, it is transparent. But the cool thing is that this doesn't have to be like a single color. This could be anything. Let me find a cute image. Oh, this is a JFIF. Okay, I can use this. It's a cute image from Space Dandy. I can plug it in. And now when I do render, as you can see, this is transparent and this isn't. And it's using our pattern animation for the transparency, but not for the image. And it doesn't really have to be an image of something that you already have. You can do both. You can render something cute on Blender and then use another scene for the alpha. And so let me show you an example on how my stinger transition works. So as you can see, this is my project now. It doesn't look much. And this uses 2 render layers. So render layer is what you saw before. You say a scene and a view layer, which I'll show you in a bit. And in my case, I use one for alpha and one for the image. So this is the alpha. And this is the image. And when you mix them together, you get this one. So how do you make like different view layers? Well, thank you. This is actually something that got me a bit because the documentation is all over the place, but there is an option right at the top, right? You can rename, like there's a current view layer, which is this one. And let's rename it to alpha. Then we can click this icon, which I swear it looks like a duplicate option, but it's not. It says new. It says add. I create a new one, and I can call it, I don't know, texture, for example. So right now, by default, it will look the same as the last one. I guess that's why it looks like a duplicate. What we want to do is use a different collection and make so that every view layer only looks at a collection. What is a collection? This collection is a bunch of stuff. Basically, it's just a group of objects. So this is a collection. It has our camera, our light, which we are not using actually. So goodbye. And our plane. So let's make a new collection. We're gonna call it alpha plane. And we're gonna drag the alpha plane to it. Then we're gonna hide it because we don't want it here. We're gonna create another collection and we're gonna call it the texture plane. And we're gonna add another plane to it. And we're gonna, again, scale it up. Then we're gonna go back into the alpha and we're gonna hide the texture plane so that each view layer is looking at something. Now that we've done that, we can mess with the compositing. We can go here and we can, just like in the material, Shift A, render layers, or we can like right click and duplicate. It does the same thing basically. We go here from alpha, we select our texture layer, and we set the image to use image. So now when we render, well, maybe render from like somewhere where something is happening. Let me go back to shading. There we go. Here. Oh, what? Did I mess up something again? Oh wait, I think I saw I see the problem. I hide it with the eye, but I actually need to hide it with the plus thing. That's how you actually say to not render something. So now it should be fine. Once I fix this. Okay, now it is Blender messing with me. So, man, this was super confusing. It's gonna be fun editing it. So as I was saying, we have this. Since we're at it, let's just animate the when it goes back to black. So we can keyframe this. We're gonna keep it like this for a while. Replace keyframe. And then we're gonna go black again. We're gonna do this, then this. But this is kind of boring. So what we can make is make it go a bit different before that. So we're gonna insert a keyframe for the scale. And then like change it to like 5. Oh, it still looks weird. Well, let's see if we can make it a bit nicer on the texture part. So we have done the alpha part. This is fine. This works. So for the texture part, we can make it a bit fancier. For example, instead of a color, we can have a wavy texture. Wave texture is, you know, very wavy. We can make it bigger or smaller. But my favorite part is we can distort it. And you can change the face a bit so it does some kind of effect. You can change the function so it has like super defined, like it's very sharp. It's kind of sharp or it's very smooth. You can change the direction. And this is just very like rings. I usually like Y a bit. You can also make it rings, which I have still don't have. I have no idea what it means. And if you distort it a lot, it makes like little highlands. See? And you can make it very like psychedelic. You can do many things with it. Yeah, it's very trippy. So you can animate this, which is fun. I wonder how it looks if I do like, let's not make it do like much like this. Hmm. Does Blender have a remap? What do you mean remap? Because here I was about to show off this thing, which is called a color ramp. So you bring it to a value, and then you can change how it is mapped. And you can give it colors. Yeah, I was just about to show it, but I thought you meant that because you can do pretty fancy things with it. You know. And now we can do like something like this, which is like very acidy. Actually, if I change it to like a green, it probably is looks like. Welcome to my Minecraft channel. Just needs like XXX something, XXX. I wonder, like, if I do go full island on it. Oh man, this is trippy. Yeah, I mean, some of the fun in this is just trying stuff out and seeing how it looks. I definitely did that like a whole bunch before figuring out what I wanted. I mean, it's not like my stinger transition is. It's not just playing around until I see something cool. Turn it green to purple. Oh yeah. What is it like? Is it like something like this? I think, right? So I think I want to. Yeah, that's very PewDiePie. So I can insert keyframe here, go here, change the face a bunch, maybe not too much. So now when I animate it, I lose this. And as you might notice, it has the same thing where I said where it starts slow and then it gets faster and then it slows down again. And if you do not want that like at all, you just select the keyframes. You right click, easing mode. I mean, interpolation mode, linear. Now it does no slowing down at all. It just goes directly. Well, it actually kind of loops. It's pretty neat. I think it's because the face offset is actually like in degrees. And this probably looks very well. So if we do try to render this, it will be very trippy indeed. Because as you see, there are these spades which are like increasing, showing the pattern. And it's gonna be a really bad Stinger transition because it has no flow, nothing. Just kind of random textures are bunched together. But this is definitely like a good place to start and find a direction way to go. Okay, this is done. This is. Let me check real quick something. So frame 40 is when it's all covering. Let me try it real quick. So I have it here. I mean, it doesn't look as bad as I thought it would. It's very trippy though. Not my kind of stuff. But yeah, this is pretty much it, really. My notes, I think they're basically done here. I don't have much more to say. I do have some like extra tips because since they made me lose hours looking for Blender tutorials to how do you do stuff. So let me, I'll save this. And let's actually make me create a new one. So this applies to 2D. I'm gonna do it in 3D because I don't wanna, I can't really be bothered to just reset everything back to the way it was. It's really an animation thing. So let's say I have something that I'm animating. So I put it here. I press Y to keyframe the location, and I move it. Like I move the timeline a bit, and then I move the object here. So it's making this kind of movement. Now I want to make it like it has a brother, a small brother that to follow him around. So I duplicate the object, I move it here, but now there's a problem because they still have the same keyframes. So this will teleport to the same movement, and since it has started a bit late, it will do it also faster. So what you need to do is, so in Blender there is transform, which is where an object is, how big it is, and everything. But there are also delta transforms, which is like another layer of transforms. And the reason they are like this is because you can animate either, and you can move either. So what you should do before duplicating objects is press Ctrl A. It I guess stands for apply. Yeah, it does stand for apply. And you stand like location to deltas, or all transform to deltas if you also rotated the object or something. So now they actually can actually like duplicate it. Wait, it's still broken? I think I have to do it now, maybe. Oh, it's all wait, did I not do that? Oh, animated transforms. Yeah. And now they do move in tandem. But yeah, that's how I did the other animation that I have, which is this one. So this one is an animation that actually went unused, and I really like it. It's really fast, like instant. And as you can see, these stars are actually kind of the same star. But I had the problem where I did need to, learn how to do the apply transform stuff. Otherwise, they would all happen simultaneously, no matter what I did. And this also uses the alpha channel. So you see it like this, but actually there is a mask view layer where I only do the masking thing. So they come, they stay for a while, they go. And while they're staying, the stars are all animating around. And these are just white outlines to make it a bit nicer to look at. And I think that's it. I don't really have anything else to show. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If you did miss something, I can go over it again. Thank you for coming. I hope I haven't been like the worst teacher around. And see you Friday.